Okay guys, this is Mathematics Paper 2 Calculator Mock Set 3, and doing this is going to really help you earn easy method marks and answer marks and recap all your prior skills. So this is a question about a scatter graph and flights from London to 8 cities. You've got a scatter graph that shows this information, and I've just pre-drawn a line of best fit. Don't use a ruler. It says Chicago is a city in the USA, and Chicago is 4,000 miles from London. Draw a line of best fit and find an estimate for the time taken to fly from London to Chicago. So that's at 4,000. Let's see the time, and that's, look at the scale, that's 495 minutes, and that will be that answer. And they do accept a range between 480 and 500 to get your 2 marks. 1 mark for the line and 1 mark for this answer. Why is your answers a part I only an estimate? Well, lines of best fit can vary. The data is a sample that you're using to create a line, or the scale cannot be read exactly. They're all valid answers. Now calculate the gradient of your line of best fit. Well, when you have your line, essentially find the triangle, get the height of it and the width, divide it to get the gradient, and they accept an answer between 9.4 to 9.8. So do have your method, because that's worth a mark, and then your answer is there. Give an interpretation of the gradient of your line of best fit. Well, the scatter graph was, if you look about time taken and against miles. So your line of best fit is showing the speed in miles per minute. And remember, that is a positive correlation as well. So, you know, this is a straightforward 6 marks for you to clean up. You should ace that. Now, question 2 is a rotation question, a type of transformation. So let's mark the centre, and you rotate it 90 degrees clockwise. So use your tracing paper and rotate that, and I believe your rotated shape should be here. It does say label it T. Now describe fully the transformation that will map shape T onto shape S. So you're just taking T back to S. So state the rotation, and you can say that's anti-clockwise. (90 degrees). You should say rotation, and it does ask for single, so it'll be rotation anti-clockwise 90 degrees, centre, (5, 4). That's a nice 3 marks there. That should be 9 marks in your pocket. Question 3, let's zoom out a bit. 2 rectangles, all measurements are in centimetres. The area of rectangle A is equal to area of rectangle B. Work out the perimeter of rectangle B. So just create an equation first for 1 mark. The areas are equal. How would we find out the area? So we know the area of A is 2.5 times 4x, and the area of B is 7 times 2x minus 3. And they're equal, so let's work that out. So that's going to be 10x equals, I'm going to expand out the bracket, 14x minus 21. Let's minus 10x from both sides. Always minus the smallest amount of x, so we get 0 equals 4x minus 21. Then we're going to plus the 21. Plus 21. And then we get 21 equals 4x. We should now divide by 4 here to get left with x. So x equals 21 over 4. And this is a calculator test, but you should know that is 5.25. So you can use a calculator to work that out, or use a bus stop, but you might as well double check with the calculator to ensure that you've got this perfect. So once you know that x is 5.25 centimeters, it says work out the rectangle B, the perimeter of rectangle B. So this is going to be 2x minus 3 here, and this is going to be 7. So you'll just work out 2 times 5.25 minus 3 first. So that's going to equal 7.5. That's this bit, 7.5. So we're going to get the total perimeter as 7.5, add 7.5, add 7, add 7, which is going to give us the answer of 29 centimeters. And they give you a little space here. Right, so that is those 5 marks. You've got to earn those, right? And it's very easily done. Now the diagram shows a fair four-sided spinner. Hazmit is going to spin the spinner twice, complete the probability tree diagram. Lands on A, we can see A is 3 out of 4. This section of the tree always adds up to 1, but we can see on the spinner that's 1/4. She's spinning the same spinner twice, so that's got to be the same in the second spin. That's probably the easiest 2 marks you're going to get on a tree diagram. Work out the probability that the spinner will land on A on the first spin and will land on B on the second spin. So that's the branch you're taking, A then B. So you could easily see that's 3/4 times 1/4. Do write this below. 3/4 times 1/4. So that equals 3 over 16, and it's fine to leave probability as a fraction, and that is perfect. That is another straightforward 4 marks. Substitution question here, but it says round it to 3 significant figures. So use the pi button, S, substitute that answer. Let's get a method mark and just type in 10 squared minus 8 squared. Work out your answer will be decimal because of pi. Remember to round to 3 significant figures, and that answer will be 355. Only blue vans and white vans are made in a factory. The ratio of the number of blue vans to the number of white vans is 4:3. Write down the fractions of the van that are blue. So that's blue and white. That's 7 in total, so it's 4 out of 7. For blue vans, the number of small vans and the number of large vans equals 3 to 5. Work out the fraction of the number of vans made in the factory that are blue and large. So we have small and large here. So large is 5 out of 8. The fractions of blue are 4 out of 7, so we just do 4 out of 7 times 5 out of 8 to get 20 over 56. and that's more than acceptable. Find the reciprocal of 5. So that is just going to be 1 over 5. Right, just type this into your calculator. Ensure you use the cube roots button. And ensure this whole function is in your calculator, like so. And you have to write down all the numbers on your display. So all the numbers you see, press the SD button if it's not showing you all the numbers up to 10 digits. And that is done. T the subject. So to get rid of this square root, we want to square both sides, correct? So we're going to get p squared equals a plus t over 2. So we're going to minus the a on both sides, minus a minus a. So p squared equals t over 2. And let's not forget the minus a. I'm going to multiply both sides by 2. That's going to be a bracket. And you can expand that, but that should be perfectly acceptable. And that's another easy 3 marks. Right, question 9. We've got to use our parallel lines knowledge with algebra skills. So w equals 90 plus a half x. We've got to show this. EB equals EF. So that these lines mean it's isosceles. What do we know about isosceles triangles? Its base angles are the same. Right, so can we see this alternate angle here? So that must be x as well, and we know that these base angles are the same. And once we find out this base angle, we can see this straight line here, so we can find the angle W. So what we need to do is 180 minus x will give us the size of these two angles in total, but we want one of them, so we divide it by 2. So this angle here is 180 minus x divided by 2 algebraically, and we're almost done. So W, angle W, is going to be 180 minus what we've just worked out. And you can just write here, because it says give a reason, because angles on straight line equals 180. Now we need to show that W equals this, so let's make it a singular fraction where the denominators are the same. So if I times this, because this is a fraction, so what I mean is that's going to be, if I times that by 2, 360 over 2 is the same as 180. Actually, I'm going to write this here so you can see what I'm doing. That's going to be 360 over 2 minus 180 minus x over 2. Now remember that's in a bracket there, so you've got 360 minus 180, and you're minusing the whole thing, so put it in a bracket, and a minus becomes a plus here. So we've got the plus x, you can see it's coming along nicely. Simplify that to 180 plus x divided by 2, and now let's just split those up. So that's 180 over 2, which is 90 plus x over 2, and then we've done that, and that's not too difficult. That's a nice 4 marks. So question 10, have a read about that. That's population, and it looks like a type of compound interest. We're going to use Law's assumption, so 0.6%. Now don't make this mistake. 6% as a multiplier is going to be 1.06, so 0.6% as a multiplier, when you're going to increase something, it's going to be 1.006. So all we need to do is on your calculator just type in 6.5 times 10 to the power 7, that's the original population, and it's for 2016 to 2020, so that's 4 years. So we just multiply that by that multiplier to the power of 4, and as long as you have your answer reasonably rounded, they will accept the full marks. Kieran also assumes that the population increases by this much. He says that will take over 80 years for the population to increase by 50%, because 50 divided by 0.6 equals 83.3. Kieran's method is wrong. Explain what is wrong with this method. Well, you can see this growth is compound, and his method would be just doing simple interest. So you would say his growth is not compound. He is using simple interest. Right, how are you going to show that the population of the UK each year forms a geometric progression? Well, we know it is because it increases it by 0.6% each year. So what I would do here is, well, what is the first term? It's 6.5 times 10 to the 7. Now the second term equals 6.5 times 10 to the 7 times 1.006. Now the third term is going to be that answer times 1.006. So you can see the pattern. So that means that's going to be 6.5 times 10 to the 7. We're going to run out of space, times 1.006 squared. And you should basically explain that, or you can say the common ratio. The ratio of multiplication is equals 1.006, because this is A, and then you're going to get AR, then AR squared. Now if you don't understand that, or not familiar with that term for geometric progression, you can just say, write a statement, each term increasing by, I suppose that's a multiplier of 1.006, so geometric. Progression. Now, because when it's arithmetic, that's adding, and geometric is when you're multiplying each time. We're on question 11, and Anna and Bill share some money in a ratio of 2 to 5. Anna is A, and Bill gets B pounds. And we've got Carl and Donna, and they get double the money as Anna and Bill. So let's say they share X amount of money, and Carl and Donna must share a 2x because it's double the amount of money. So as a fraction, Anna, hopefully this makes sense, she gets 2 out of 7 X money out of this first bunch, because X is the mystery amount of money. And then Bill gets, that's A, and Bill will get 5 out of 7 times X as a fraction. Now Carl and Donna, well, Carl gets 3 out of 4, can you see, that's 3 out of 4, but he's got a times a 2x, because that's what they share. And Donna gets 1/4 times 2x, because that's how much they're sharing. So we can combine that as a ratio. So let's do A, B, C, D. So let's start with that. That's 2x over 7 to 5x over 7 to, let's simplify that, 6x over 4 and these 2x over 4. We need to give it in our simplest forms. So what would we do? Let's just multiply everything out by 4 to get rid of that. So we're going to get 8x over 7 to 5x over 7 to 6x to 2x. Now let's get rid of the 7, so let's multiply everything by 7 as well. But let's remember, actually, let's get rid of the x's at the same time. We'll divide out by x as well, so we'll get rid of all the x's. So times by 7, we're going to get 8 to 5 to 42 to 14. Ooh, now that can't be simplified. Let's see. Ooh, if I times that by 4, I need to remember that's actually 20. So that's 20. Now this can be simplified, divisible by 2. That's 4 to 5 to 21 to 7. That's for A, B, C, D, and that will be the correct answer. Yeah, I forgot to times 4 by 5 here to make it 20, and that is correct. So I think we're almost at the halfway point. Now these skills, once you know what to do, there's really easy marks to be picked up to easily go for that grade 7 and above. Now question 12. The length of QI 60% of PR. So, well, I could just say, well, if that is 1, well, I could say if that was 10 even, that would be 6 because it's 60% of QR. Or you can use X, but let's just use a number to work with, and I think that should work. And you could simplify that to 5 to 3. The ratios are the same, but I'm going to use 10 to 6. And it says find the value of sine QPR. Well, I think this is a two-step process. So this is the angle here. So at first we've got, that's the opposite and adjacent in this case. So that means we have tan theta equals 6 over 10. Now that using this we can work out the angle theta. So we inverse tan that. Which equals 30.96 to 2 decimal places, and that's degrees. So that's this. So we can use this information now because we're asking for sine QPR, and that P is in the middle, so that is the right angle to use. Now remember, sine theta equals opposite over hypotenuse, so we need the hypotenuse. We've got this 6 here and the 10. So what does that mean is we need to find the hypotenuse, right? So we need to find the length of the longest side. What can we do for that? We can use Pythagoras because it's a right angled triangle, so we just do a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So that's 6 squared plus 10 squared. That is 36 over 100, so that's 136. What's the square root of 136? Well, I'm just going to keep that as that for now. That's the length of h. We can use this, sub these figures into here. So sine QPR, which is sine of theta, will equal opposite, which is 6, divided by the square root of 136, and to say what does it equal, and to 3 significant figures, and you should get the answer 0.514. And that's just applying your trigonometry, so that shouldn't be too bad for you, hopefully. So now to question 13. So this is a linear graph, reciprocal. Maybe write what you know. Start off linear, reciprocal, that's quadratic. This is cubic because of the shape of it. Now you should be able to recognise that straight away. So, well, can you see this is a cubic graph here? So that's quite straightforward. That's got to be graph E. Now, that's sort of square rooting it. So by elimination, I know that's C. Now if you wasn't sure, you could just try and substitute values and make a quick sketch of the graph. Now look, that's a quadratic because it's got the squared, so that must be D. Remember, anything over X is a reciprocal graph, and I believe that was the first one. So that's A. linear graphs, we've got one letter left, but we know linear graphs is a form of 2x plus 5, etc., because that's the linear part. And that's an easy 3 marks, and so many people don't clean up the recognising graphs questions. Question 14, this is combinations. Now, even though it's actually a high grade topic, many of these questions is easy to pick up marks. A cafe owner sells 10 different types of sandwich, where he buys a different type of sandwich on Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday. In how many ways can he do this? Well, there's 10 different types of sandwiches. So on a Monday he's got 10 combinations that he can have. Now it says say different, so if he gets rid of whatever one choice he has, there's only 9 choices left. So on Tuesday he can have 9 different combinations, and after that it's times 8, so just work that out on the calculator. Well, 8 times 9 is 72, then times 10 is 720. So yeah, that answer is 720, and that's a very straightforward combination mark. That is lovely. So this is a nice histogram question, and it looks like you have to draw the histogram, and you've got frequency density on the side against time taken. You've got a time, so we have to find the frequency density. Now if you remember the triangle here, that's a triangle, so frequency density equals the frequency divided by the class width. So the frequency is 20 here, so that would be 20 divided by 25. Do this for your working out, that's 0.8. That frequency is 35 and the class width is 20. That's 1.75. Now we've got the frequency of 45, that's 15, that equals 3, that's all that is going to get you a method mark. Next one is 87 divided by 15 equals 5.8, 10 divided by 10 equals 1, and 8 divided by 10 equals 0.8. So all you need to do is to plot that down. So 0 to 25 is 0.8. Choose your scale. What is the biggest number? Go up to 5.8. So I think that's fine. You can use that as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. Okay, so I'm just going to zoom out so I can see what I wrote. So 0 to 25 is at 0.8. Okay. From 25 to 45 is 1.75. Do use a ruler, so you get the idea. 45 to 60 is 3. Uh, 60 to 75 is 5.8. Now where is 75? Okay, so oops, see. And 85 to 95 is 0.8. Oh no, I've missed this one. 75 to 85 is 1. And the last bit, and it only goes to 95, it's 0.8, like so. Do use a ruler, but as long as you've got the idea, and that is a nice 3 marks. So if you get a question like this, you have to show that this equation has a solution between these two values. It's a bit like triangle improvement if you remember it, but let's remember a key thing that we need to remember. So, if the graph was a quadratic, we know the roots across the x-axis when y is 0. So that represents y. Now this is a cubic, so you know it could be something like that, and we just need to show that that goes between 2 and 3. So this could be a really easy 2 marks if you know what to do. So what you do is you let x equals 2 and substitute that in to this formula above. So what we're going to get is 2 cubed minus 3 times 2 squared plus 3. And what is that going to equal? That's going to equal 8. Do the indices first. Minus 12 plus 3. And that answer is minus 1. Now do the same for when x equals 3. X equals 3. So you're going to get 3 cubed minus 3 times 3 squared plus 3, which equals 27 minus 27 plus 3 equals 3. So what that means is between 2 and 3 the y value goes from minus 1 to positive 3. So it crosses when y equals 0. So this line must cross through 0. So there's a change in sign for the value of y. So it must have a root or solution at that point. So it must have a root. So that is an easy 2 marks if you know what to do, right? It's just substitution. Now B says show that the equation x cubed minus 3x squared plus 3 equals 0 can be rearranged to make x equals 3x squared minus 3 all cube rooted. So what we want to do, we can see we want to keep this the same but bring it to this side here. So if we plus the 3x squared and minus the 3, we're going to get x cubed equals 3x squared minus 3. That matches, and what's the opposite of cube root is cubic root. And that leaves us with this. And that's a nice easy 1 mark. Second half of the paper, this paper is a very nice one to get in grade 7 and above. Now this is when you would use your calculator. So they say x0 equals 2. So all you do is, that means x, so if x0 is here plus 1, so when x0 equals 2, that's a 0 plus 1, that makes that x plus 1, and you let the x0 be substituted in here. So all you do is, on your calculator, work out what that equals, which equals 2.1 0.080 and another answer. But then you can just use your answer button on your calculator. But do write this down as you're working out. So this is x1, you would use this answer in that formula again. So x2 would equal 3 times your last answer, so I'm just going to do your answer, squared minus 3, and it does say give your answer to 3 decimal places, so that's why use the whole answer in the calculator, and that's 3.153. So if you know what you're doing with this, it's really easy to get 5 marks here in the second half of the paper, and this is just iteration. The topic is iteration, and you should be happy if this comes up if you know it. If you don't, then you won't get any marks, but honestly it's easy 5 marks. Was that 6? That's 6 marks actually. Okay, question 17, we're close to finishing. So this is similar shapes with volume. So the key here is we've got a 5, and let's put the volume in. So that's 150, and that's 500. Work out the height of the large tub. Well, let's see what the scale factor, the volume scale factor is. So what we get is 500 divided by 150. Now let's divide that all by 50, so that's 10 over 3. Now that's the volume scale factor. Now you need to remember the length scale factor, going from the length scale factor to volume scale factor. So if you're going to here, you cube the answer to find the volume scale factor. So if you imagine you're going backwards, you have to cube root it. And this is on a calculator paper, so cube root 10 over 3 will equal the length scale factor, which in turn equals 1.4938, and it does go on, so dot dot dot, and it does say to 3 significant figures for the height, so it should be okay just to use that number. You just do 5 times your last answer, 1.4938, and to 3 significant figures, the answer will be 7.4723SF. That's quite nice. So if you understand similar shapes and the scale factors between them, that should be an easy 2 marks towards the end. Now look at this question. Can you see this looks like completed a square form? Find the value. Well, you're not sure what to do here. Let's just expand that out. Just in case you don't know. So x times x is x squared plus 4x minus 8x minus 32, which equals x squared minus 4x minus 32. So let's just write that here. But we need to complete the square so that we can find a and b. So if you remember, when you complete the square, it'll be x minus 2 because we halve the coefficient here. Now we want to, when you expand this, you will get a plus 4, won't you? So we want to minus this 4 extra that it gives us, so that we're making this term here. And remember, we've got the minus 32 to add. Minus 32, that's x minus 2 squared minus 36. So that's quite easy to see. A equals 2 and b equals, no, it's key here because it says plus b. B is actually minus 36 here, because if you plus a minus 36, it's the same thing essentially. Do not put 36. So that is a very nice question 18. And we're almost there. Question 19. Now work out the value of x. We've got a sector. We can definitely earn some method marks here. So let's break this up. This is a primitive 25, so this length here is going to really help us, right? So what's 25 minus the 2 9s? That's going to be 7, so this must be 7 centimeters. Work out the value of x. So this is related to circumference, isn't it? So what's the circumference of a circle? And we have r, so we've got 2 pi r equals the circumference. Now, when we're trying to find the circumference of a sector, normally it's going to be, or the arc length here actually, 2 pi r times whatever the angle is, angle over 360. Like when you're trying to find the area of a sector, it will be the angle that you have over 360 times pi r squared, right? Just in case they give you a question with the area in the future. But this is to do with circumference, so this should start to make sense. So what is 2 pi r in this case? So what we're trying to do is find x. So let's write a formula. We've got 2 pi r, the angle is x. So we're going to write times here. We're finding x. It's got to be over 360, and that gives us that answer of 7. So we should just be able to rearrange that. R is 9. So we have x over 360 times 18 pi equals 7, and we just rearrange that. Let's times out by 360 . So we're going to get essentially 18x pi equals 7 times 360, 2520, and let's divide that out by 18 pi to get x. So x equals 44.6 to 1 decimal place to 1 dp. Now please be careful using this from a calculator. I would just make sure you do that in the bracket just in case. Check if the answer makes sense, because of the way the calculator will use the BIDMAS rules. I think if you do 2,520 divided by 18 times pi, it's going to give you 140 pi, just because how it uses the BIDMAS rule. So what it will do is divide by the 18 first and then times by pi at the end, and you're dividing the whole answer. So to be safe, you could even use the fraction button. Okay, so that's 19 done anyway, and that should make sense. Right, by now we should be really good at upper bounds or lower bounds. We want to find the upper bound for m. So if we want the upper bound for m, and we're dividing by p and s, and we want the m to be the largest number, we want p and s to be the smallest numbers possible. So those have to both be lower bounds. So it's going to be p lower bound times s lower bound. That's correct to 2 decimal places. So 2 decimal places divided by 2. That's 0.05. So the lower bound of p, and just for good habit, lower bound of p and upper bound of p, you're going to minus add the 0.005. That's for p. So 5.365 and 5.375. Now s is to 1 decimal place, so we just do 0.1 divided by 2 to get 0.05. So let's write that here. S upper bound, so we're going to plus minus 0.05 to find that, because this will get you some method marks guaranteed, just in case you make a mistake at the end. So the lower bound is 2.85 equals 2.95. We've got that working out here. And another method is using the both lower bounds, so we're just going to do 1 divided by 5.365. So writing this down will get you a method mark, so just don't write the answer straight away. You'll be surprised how many people lose marks in the exam by sometimes just writing a number down wrong, which can happen. And it does clearly say you must show your working, so do show your working, and the answer is right. In the mark scheme they've just written all the numbers down. I guess they didn't ask you for any rounding, so just to be on the safe side, I'm going to write all the numbers down. That's an easy 3 marks. This is this paper, you should be able to grade 9 it really. This is a proof type question. So you need to prove that the area of this triangle is half ABC. So just start with, how do you find the area of the triangle? Well, we use the height times the length of A divided by 2. So that gives us the half. So how could we find the height? Well, it does say sine C here, so let's make, that's the angle we're probably going to use. So the Can you see B here? That will make a right angle. The little b is the hypotenuse and A is the adjacent. And that's the opposite. Now remember, sine C is going to equal opposite over hypotenuse. So we know the hypotenuse is B. Let's just write sine C equals the opposite times B. So the opposite is going to equal B times sine C. So it's going to be B times sine C. So I hope that's gathered. Now, can you see I've said the opposite is the height. Now, so going back to what we made at the start, so the height times A, so that's, well, we get AB sine C, and it's divided by 2, so divided by 2 equals area of the triangle. And that is not a bad proof question. I mean, you could almost work that out without knowing the formula if you just can go from first principles. Right, this looks like a problem solving question. Final question, we've got a volume, a surface area and a 2. So let's just do what we can work out and to definitely earn some method marks. One edge is 2 centimeters. We can see that's got to be this one. Now we could call this length x and y and use algebra to work this out. I'm not going to use x and y for now because it just looks like a time symbol sometimes, so I'm just going to use AB. So we know the volume of a cuboid is going to be 2AB. That's going to be the volume. That equals 40. Now the surface area is going to be 2A plus the other side, 2A, front and back, plus 2B plus 2B, which is going to be that side and the back side, and we want the top and the bottom, which is going to be AB plus AB. Which equals 100. Now let's simplify that. That's going to be 4A plus 4B plus 2AB equals 100. Now we can see 2AB equals 40 already. So we can substitute that in here. So 4A plus 4B plus 40 equals 100. And then we're going to simplify that to 4A plus 4B equals 60. Let's just divide that by 4 to make it easy. A plus B equals 15. That's looking good. So now how can we eliminate A and B? Well, it's probably easiest to sub this into this formula and just find out what A equals or B equals. It doesn't matter. So I'm gonna, let's say B, let's just say B equals 15 minus A. I'm gonna sub into 1 here. So that means 2 times a times 15 minus a equals 40. I'm going to split that up and change colour pen. So we don't get mixed up with you don't get mixed up with the working out. So if you can see, you're going to get 2a times 15, that's going to give us 30a, minus 2a squared equals 40. Now we should know how to rearrange that, and I like dealing with positive a squared, so that's going to be 2a squared minus 30a plus 40 equals 0. We can divide that out by 2 to make it easier for us to work with, but you don't have to. We get a squared minus 15a plus 20 equals 0. Now you can't factorise that, so we've got to use a quadratic formula, minus b plus or minus b squared minus 4ac, which is square rooted all over 2. Do you put the numbers in you've got, so that's worth a processing mark. So when you substitute the numbers in the quadratic formula, you'll get this, and you'll get two answers of 1.479 or 13.52. Now they're asking for the lengths of the diagonal, and I don't think they mean this length here. I think they mean that the diagonal from cuboid to corner of the cuboid, because that would make more sense. So if you can see, that should be 3D Pythagoras. Can I draw a better picture? So we're going to use our values for A and B, but I'm going to just write A and B here to find the diagonal of the bottom base of the triangle. So what we're doing here is this one, AB, that's the right angle. So we're going to do 1.479 squared plus 13.52 squared, which equals answer. We're going to square root that answer to get 13.6. So this point is 13.6. So essentially inside that cuboid, we've got 13.6 and 2, and we do the same thing again, because I'll show you here, that's the right angle there, and we're trying to find the diagonal that goes across from this top corner to this bottom corner, and that's why we use the AB Pythagoras here to find this bottom length, which I said was 13.6. So then we just do 13.6 squared plus 2 squared equals 138.96, and then we should just square root that answer. And what do we get 13.74. Does it say to round it to 3 significant figures? So that's 13.7. And that's 6 marks. So this paper, you could get a grade 9 on it if you can apply some problem solving skills. Right, I hope that is useful. Let me zoom out so you can see the whole thing. And well done guys, hope this helps a lot, and it will really help you recap all the skills you have and help with your exams and your mock exams.